Hey, welcome to my favorite Friday edition of Breaking the Huddle all season long. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great day. Hope you had a very safe Black Friday. And this is a special Friday edition of Breaking the Huddle brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the official drink of Fansville. And by the way, I just want to say I'm thankful for Dr. Pepper and their support of this show because they allow us to give you the content that you desire at home. All this college football content all year long brought to you by Dr. Pepper, and we're so thankful for our relationship with them. Now, let's get into it here. The game, Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan, number 13, is going to be at home against the number 1 team in the country, at least how the committee put it last Tuesday night. I want to go through a bunch of the keys, and I just want to talk to you about what's going to be going on the field tomorrow in the biggest game of the day. Let me start by saying I really do believe, even though Michigan lost to Penn State and Wisconsin, who Ohio State has beaten this year, I do believe this is going to be the biggest test that Ohio State has. And that's big because we still haven't seen, even though Penn State played well last week, we still haven't seen Ohio State late in the fourth quarter in a one-possession game. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see how they react. That would obviously be great theater, and it would be great for you at home, the viewer of college football. Let's go through some keys. I want to start with, I think, the best player on the field. I've said it countless times, Superman and the Avengers. That's right. You know what I'm talking about, nerds. So, Superman and the Avengers, Chase Young. Chase Young is such a good player. Let me talk to you about how and why he's able to get one-on-one opportunities to rush the passer. Because you would think like, hey, just block him with 2 players. It's not that easy, and here's why. First, the coordinator, Jeff Hafley, he's going to put him to what's called the open side of the formation. All right, if you don't know what that means, that's fine. A lot of people don't. That means opposite the tight end. The tight end would be on the other side or the wide side of the field, and then just the tackle would be on the short side of the field. But that's not all they do. Another thing that they do is that they put Chase Young in what's called an outside or 5 technique. So he's on a 5 technique on the tackle, okay? You don't need to know why it's called a 5 technique other than they've got a defensive tackle right here on the guard and called like a 3 or a 2-eye. And then they've also got, and this is the key, a linebacker. Let's say it's Baron Browning, number 5. And in pass rushing situations, he's going to walk up, and if the ball's on the hash, he's going to be a stand-up player right over the center. Okay, so think about it now. The center is covered up. The guard is covered up. And the tackle is now one-on-one with Superman. So here's Chase Young. He's got the opportunity now to get off and at least have an opportunity initially to have a one-on-one. And unless the back comes from the backfield and helps and chips and double teams Chase Young, now all of a sudden he's got a chance in the first couple of steps to beat the tackle. One of the things that he does best is that he gets up the field with his quickness so well, and as soon as he feels like he can beat the tackle, in particular in a speed rush, he's going to knock the hands, try to get the hands off of him, and then what that does, in particular this outside club, is it starts to turn his hips. When you hear the term flipped hips, what it means is you go from straight up the field to now that corner where your hips are going straight towards the quarterback so you can have a more flat and quicker direction to the quarterback for the sack. That's one of the areas where I think Ohio State has an edge, obviously, because he is so good. Now the guy, let's go to another person in this game. The guy that he's going to be trying to get in the pocket is Shea Patterson. Shea Patterson's playing really well. Michigan fans, you know this. He's playing the best football that he maybe ever has in a Michigan uniform. Over the last 2 weeks, 750 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's playing great. One of the things that I think he does in particularly so well is that he runs this RPO style of passing game well because he can throw the ball accurately, what I would say is off platform. Let me try to explain that out. If you're watching baseball and you see a pitcher, he is doing what's he's trying to repeat his delivery. It's trying to be the same every single time. And a quarterback would love to repeat his delivery in the pocket. He wants to stand tall and he wants to come up and be what's called on platform, on base. When that's taken away from a quarterback, what he has to do is he's got to change and he's got to get into more of a middle infielder mold, where regardless of where his feet are, he can flip the ball out and he can make an accurate throw, in particular in the middle of the field, without his platform. So here's what that looks like. Here's Shea Patterson. He's in the shotgun. He gets the ball. Let's say he sticks it out here for the running back. Let's say it's Hassan Haskins. Haskins comes across, Shea is going to be reading this linebacker right over here. If the read suggests that he needs to pull that ball and throw it, here's the deal. Once he pulls it, look where his platform's at. He's not a pitcher. This is not repeatable. So he's got to have quick feet and then throw the ball like he's turning a double play. He does that really well. I think it's one of his best qualities, the ability to throw the ball off platform in the RPO. The other element of his game that I think will be big, in particular this week, is running the ball. Ohio State is statistically the best defense in the country. One of the things that they've had a little bit of a hard time with is a quarterback that can run. We even saw that last week with Levis, the backup quarterback, who came in and hurt them at times a little bit running the football. So when Shea is in the backfield, one of the things that I think he needs to do early in the game is when he gets on that same look, that same zone read, right? That same RPO. If Young or any of the defensive ends kind of slam down towards the running back, I think he's got to get the threat of the quarterback run, pull that ball out, and get on the edge himself. It generally does two things. One, it keeps the defense more honest, and then the other, I think it actually creates rhythm for Shea in the passing game. In particular, last year, you're think about games like at Northwestern, some other games that I can think of, or even earlier this year against Michigan State. He would scramble and create first downs with his legs, and then all of a sudden the passing game started to really pick up, and the tempo and the rhythm were there. And I think part of that was the rhythm that he would establish with his feet. So that's a big element to this game that I think he's going to need in order to beat Ohio State, in order to put points on the board. For Ohio State's offense, I think the biggest key for them, in particular with maybe some of these elements that we're going to see, is J.K. Dobbins. And I talked about Dobbins last week. Dobbins is so good. And now what they're doing is that they're leaning on him even more. Ryan Day is a really great coach. Over the last 3 seasons, folks, he's had distinctly different offenses at Ohio State. Not schematically, but from play selection mode. With J.T. Barrett, they were a pretty heavy run team, and then they would mix in the element of the pass. Last year with Dwayne Haskins, boy, it was all passing game all the time, and rightly so. Dwayne was such a talented thrower of the ball from the pocket. Now what you see is they've reverted back to kind of a J.T. Barrett style, and also gone even more run heavy than they were a couple of years ago with Barrett and Dobbins in the backfield. Dobbins last week was a workhorse. Season high in carries, over 150 yards. Ohio State ran the ball 61 times last week. By the way, the last time they ran the ball 61 times was in the national championship game against Oregon just a few years ago. That was with Zeke Elliott. Dobbins is a guy that can not only pass Elliott on the all-time Ohio State rushing list this week, but I think he might have to in order for them to control the game. He's the type of guy that you need to get him in rhythm early and often, and one of the things he does so well, I told you about pressing the front side of the zone and cutting back last week, but now what you got to understand is once he's on the outside, he's so dangerous. So not between the tackles, but now we're going to send him outside the tackles. And when Dobbins gets out on the outside, one of the things that he's so good at is he's elusive in space. And when he gets out to a one-on-one situation, let's say a corner or a safety is in this area between the numbers and the hash mark, very rarely do they bring him down in a one-on-one situation. He's got enough wiggle, he's got enough burst and explosiveness where he's going to create extra yards. Michigan on defense does a great job of not allowing any extra yards after contact. They also do a great job of not missing tackles. So this is a strength against strength in the open field. A guy I want you to pay close attention to for Michigan's defense is number 30, the true freshman Daxton Hill. He's going to be a safety for a lot of the game, and he's going to be in space, and he's going to have to tackle J.K. Dobbins, and Dobbins is the veteran. And the freshman's going to have to bring him down in one-on-one situations. That matchup is critical. If Daxton doesn't tackle well, Michigan's going to have a really hard time. If he does tackle well, then the onus is going to go back on to Justin Fields to not only have to throw it well, but then also run it well from the pocket. And that's where I'm going to end. Justin Fields. Folks, the last 2 years, Ohio State has played so well offensively against Don Brown's defense, the defensive coordinator for Michigan. But here's the thing. It was really Dwayne Haskins that was doing that damage. If you take a look at this matchup from the time Don Brown got to Michigan, the beginning of 2016, until Haskins came into the game, Michigan was gaining right around 2 yards per play, let me reframe that. They were gaining right around 3 yards per play and scoring somewhere in the 1 point per drive type of analytics. Then Haskins comes in the game. They were down third quarter here in Ann Arbor a couple of years ago, and Haskins totally flipped the script. They were so good. They came back and won that game, and then last year they put up 62 points on that defense, and they did it largely from the pocket throwing the football. The reason I tell you that story is that I think Justin Fields is going to have his best game of his career throwing the ball from the pocket. That's what Haskins was so good at. That's what hurt Don Brown's defense. And one of the things that you've got to be able to do from the pocket is that when you get back here, 1, you can't panic. 2, you've got to be able to step up. And 3, can you throw the ball accurately, what I would call on the flat routes? Not in the flat, I'm saying flat routes. The crossing routes, they were so big with Haskins and this team last year. And the hard part about it, folks, and this is what's so difficult to explain for you at home, is when you're a quarterback and you're looking down the field, you've got to flip your hips and your base almost 90 degrees to get to one of these routes that are going full speed away from you. So the window, I'm going to try to reenact it here for the camera. If I'm the receiver and I'm racing this way, and I look back, you're the quarterback. Where are you throwing the football? You've got this window. It's that tight right here. If you don't put the ball right here and you make me reach back, if you put it too far over here, it's either gonna be incomplete or I'm gonna get stopped for no gain. The only way this is successful is if it's on the money, bam! And now I can turn up the field and I can run if I'm a wide receiver and get that yards after the catch. Haskins was so good at that. He was tall, he had a quick release, he was accurate with the football. Justin Fields is going to have to do that tomorrow for Ohio State if they're going to want to replicate some of the success that they've had over the last couple of years against Michigan's defense, who's playing very well right now. Pass rushers galore in this game. We've got stars on offense. We've got Jim Harbaugh, we've got Ryan Day. This one's gonna be an all-timer. Folks, if you're half as excited as I am, I think that we're all busting at the seams at this point. My head's about ready to explode because I just want it to be game time. Big noon Saturday, noon Eastern, on Fox. Gus, Ginny, and I are gonna have the call of the game. Number 1 Ohio State, number 13 Michigan. Dr. Pepper, thank you for your support. This show is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the official drink of Fansville. Enjoy the game on Saturday.